Welcome to No Longer Conformed. I'm Erik Garthe, and we are studying Matthew chapter 5, verses 1 through 12, the Beatitudes. In this session, we'll be looking at Matthew chapter 5 and verse 6, Beatitudes, those who hunger and thirst. Let's look at our text. Matthew chapter 5, verse 6, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Hunger is to crave or to seek with eager desire. Thirst is to painfully long for things that refresh. Hunger and thirst are natural reactions of the body. They alert us to the need for food and water. What about appetite? Is appetite natural? No. Appetites are learned desires. They vary from person to person. They prefer some tastes over others. They're triggered by sight, by sounds, by odors, even thoughts. They are not related to any body needs. Appetites are desires of the mind, and self-control is the only way to overcome them. Appetite must be controlled by discipline of the mind. It requires avoiding the temptations that trigger it. There are other appetites needing discipline, spiritual ones. In 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 1 to 13, Scripture warns us about being controlled by appetites. Paul gives 3 warnings of danger in this text. 1 Corinthians chapter 10. First, beware of dangerous delusions. Verses 1 through 5 of 1 Corinthians 10. Moreover, brethren, I do not want you to be unaware that all our fathers were under the cloud. All passed through the sea. All were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea. All ate the same spiritual food, and all drank the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. But with most of them, God was not well pleased, for their bodies were scattered in the wilderness. All were under the cloud. All went through the sea. All were baptized into Moses. All ate the spiritual food, and all drank the spiritual drink. The rock was Jesus. Moses was a type of Christ, a Messiah. Freedom from slavery. But verse 5 presents a serious problem. God was not pleased with most of them, so the wilderness was scattered with their bodies. They fooled others. They fooled themselves, but not God. Are there members of the church that God is not pleased with? Members who have participated in baptism and the Lord's Supper, giving good impressions, which are false impressions. Outward appearances can be very deceiving. Remember 1 Samuel chapter 16, verses 6 and 7. So it was when they came that he looked at Eliab and said, surely the Lord's anointed is before him. But the Lord said to Samuel, do not look at his appearance or at the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord does not see as man sees. For man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Second, beware of dangerous delights. Look at verse 6 down to verse 10. Now these things became our examples, to the intent that we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted, and do not become idolaters as were some of them. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Nor let us commit sexual immorality as some of them did, and in one day 23,000 fell. Nor let us tempt Christ as some of them also tempted, and were destroyed by serpents. Nor complain as some of them also complained and were destroyed by the destroyer. Oh, this junk food won't really hurt me. What were the dangerous delights? Verse 6, they lusted after evil things. Verse 7, they were idolaters. They were actually hypocrites. Verse 8, they committed sexual immorality. Verse 9, they tempted Are there, are there lifestyles that tempt Christ today? And number 10, they complained and were destroyed. Why did God inspire the writing of these things? Well, just look at verse 6 again. Now these things became our examples, to the intent that we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted. Verse 6, text. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Righteousness, integrity, virtue, purity of life, a correctness of thinking, of feeling and acting that is consistent with God's calling. God promises that those who seek this lifestyle shall be filled. The Greek word translated filled is kotazo, literally to fatten with hay. Psalm 81, verse 10. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Open your mouth wide and I will fill it. And then third, beware of dangerous dignity. In verses 11 down to verse 13. Now all these things happened to them as examples, and they were written for our admonition, upon whom the end of the ages has come. Therefore, let him who thinks he stands take heed, lest he fall. No temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you're able, but with the temptation will also make the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. 3 times Paul spoke a warning. Verse 1, verse 6, verse 11. 1 time is enough. 2 times demands attention. 3 times requires action. Why was the Old Testament written? There were 2 problems we need to avoid. Mistaking pride for position. Verse 12. Therefore, let him who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall. And also mistaking foolishness for faith. Verse 13. God, with the temptation, will also make the way of escape. Sometimes we're to resist. Sometimes we are to run. Genesis chapter 39 in the life of Joseph. Genesis 39, verses 7 to 13. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast longing eyes on Joseph, and she said, lie with me. But he refused and said to his master's wife, look, my master does not know what is with me in the house, and he has committed all things he has to my hand. There is no one greater in this house than I, nor has he kept back anything from me but you, because you are his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? So it was, as she spoke to Joseph day by day, that he did not heed her to lie with her or be with her. But it happened about this time when Joseph went into the house to do his work, and none of the men of the house was inside, that she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. But he left his garment in her hand and fled and ran outside. And so it was when she saw that he had left his garment. So it was when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and fled outside. Listen, be ready to use the escape from temptation. Commit to seek the Lord and be filled. Isaiah 55, verses 1 through 3. Everyone who thirsts, come to the waters, and you who have no money, come, eat, buy, and eat, without money and without price. Why do you spend money for what is not bread, and your wages for what does not satisfy? Listen carefully to me, and eat what is good, and let your soul delight itself in abundance. Incline your ear and come to me. Hear, and your soul shall live. You have a great day.